some people can monetize their YouTube channel in maybe a month. That's like super fast. Other people, it might take 2 or 3 years. I have a second channel which is just for e-bikes and e-scooters and such.
Oh,
I haven't put a lot of effort into it, but I've only got about 500 subscribers, and it's taking almost twice as long as the main channel. But again, I'm not putting much effort into it. That one's more for fun. So you are going to see a lot of people, their monetization times are going to come at different levels. And as soon as you stop chasing the money, you'll find that it will come faster. Just give people info that is helpful, and from there, people will like you more.
Let him in the room. Johnny's Weekends. Let's go. Welcome to the SolarPulse podcast with Josh and Joe. Hey, you're on mute right now, but this is Johnny Dahlberg, a solar influencer, DIY YouTuber in the house. What's up, Johnny?
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
All right, there we go. Great.
What's going on, man? Thanks for making some time to be on here.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, cool to join you guys. And it's kind of crazy because I'm actually in a new studio. So there's not much here. I'm still putting all the pieces together as far as components, all my audio gear, everything else is at home. So I was actually scrambling. I just had to make my own Cat 5 cable so I could get on here with high-speed internet. So I was kind of scrambling to get on here. It's funny what you forget that you don't have when you make a new studio.
You're literally doing a DIY right now.
I'm DIYing everything. I even had to build my own sound box for my microphone because I don't even have any sound padding on the wall or anything. So it was thrown together last minute, not to mention all the other stuff I was doing.
And
you've got the solar panel on the wall, so that's
there you go.
All that matters.
This is my co-host here, Josh King. Have you guys ever met before?
Johnny.
I haven't met Josh yet, no, but good to meet you guys. And I think you guys did go to the solar show out there in Utah, right?
SolarCon, baby.
Certainly did.
Yeah.
Certainly did.
Yeah, man.
Were you out there as well?
No, I didn't get a chance to go just due to other engagements that I already had. Plus, I was at CES this year for in January, and I was already back in Vegas for the National Hardware Show. I was down in Quartzsite, Arizona, Lake Havasu, Arizona. So I've already done a lot of traveling this year. So I was kind of booked up a little bit, plus with family engagements as well. It's been a little bit crazy this first part of the year. So.
Yeah, now I can see your schedule is busy, especially with the content. You're just dropping content left and right on YouTube, and you've been doing it for years. Josh was sure before, like you started content like 7 years ago, and then there was a gap. And can you just give us a little background real quick before we get into it? Kind of like before you started YouTube, what was your background? Why did you start doing it? And kind of why you had a gap in between.
All right. Well, yeah, the gap was mainly because, you kind of start posting stuff on YouTube, like a few DIYs, and it's really just a hobby. I think is how most people start, right? And then you just kind of forget about it for a little while. And then after that, you're going off and doing something else. I mean, my background is in quite a bit, a lot of different things, kind of like a jack of all trades, you could almost say, because I started in the marine industry, recreational business. And so I was working on jet skis, dirt bikes, boats, Malibu boats, went to Malibu boat school for several times to be a Malibu boat specialist that was in the 90s, late 90s. And then eventually, you kind of figure out you're not going to make a lot of money in that industry unless you're doing something else. So I decided to do something else where I could make more money. So I ended up working for my then future father-in-law, and he owned an electrician business. And he ended up starting solar business in about 2001, late 2000 or early 2002. And that's where I ended up starting to learn all my solar stuff. And I only worked for my father-in-law or future father-in-law for a little bit because, when you kind of come home and complain about work, you're complaining about your father-in-law who, to your future wife. And it just didn't go very well. So I did that for a couple years. And then I took a hiatus out of the solar stuff. I still sold it on the side, or at least helped garnish sales and such. for the family business, but I actually joined the medical business. And so I've been in the medical field for since 2004, so darn near 20 years now. And I've been working in the operating room, assisting with several surgeries,
Wow.
all types, except for hearts. They own you, so if you're a heart tech, you're going to be owned and work an extreme amount.
Wow.
So
Wow, talk about jack of all trades. I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting the
that was a
surgery.
surprise.
well, from working on boats, dirt bikes, jet skis, and working on electrical, well, now you're just working on people. And if you think of it the same way, instead of having tools, you're using instruments. And the guys say it's all the same. If you're going to work on the frame of a car, well, we're going to work on bones. And if you're going to work on plumbing, well, you're working on veins and arteries and find the leak and stop it. So it's just a different terminology is really all it is. So, but that whole time I've actually made decent sales selling to the physicians that I actually work with. So I would just roll off solar deals while I was there working with other people, and it still always continued. And of course, I always did the DIY stuff on the side. So then eventually, as COVID hit, the medical industry was crazy for a lot of people, and that made and broke a lot of people, especially the new people coming in. They thought it was great. The old people who were there for a long time, they're like, I'm kind of done with this. So after living there for holidays, weekends, nights, and more, I was kind of tired of being owned in the medical field. Not that it's not a good industry, but it's a lot, and I kind of wanted to start doing my own thing. But during that COVID time, when we had slow times and sometimes we're just crazy, that is when I started uploading more to YouTube. Again, it started off as a DIY. Here, let me show you how to change the oil in this generator. Here's some simple information on a solar panel. And so then it kind of continued, and it really almost was a bet. I was making these YouTube videos, and I was like, man, there's people that make money doing this. And not that that was really the main goal. It was cool just to interact with people online, but I told a friend, I was like, someday I'm going to make some money on YouTube. He's like, you'll never make any money on YouTube. And well, the challenge was on. I just wanted one check that said, hey, you made some money, or whatever. But then I found it interesting enough to where I kept doing it. And then it was cool to interact with the people, and especially when they were saying thank you for helping me, with these, with just the ideas or either the DIY stuff. And so, kind of like the medical field, you're putting in your time and doing a service. YouTube is almost kind of like doing a service. You're helping people out and educating and more. So that's kind of the big roundabout thing, and so I continue to do it, and I still work in the medical field part-time, but and I now do this part-time.
So that's where you get Johnny's weekends from, because you're working full time and you're doing the stuff on the weekends.
That's about right. Yeah.
Look at that.
Did it explode for you right off the bat when you started taking it seriously?
I wouldn't say it exploded right off, but I was getting better than average views from the research that I did. And then I had 2 or 3 videos that kind of started taking off. And at that time, when my son was young, and he was, of course, every kid wants to be a YouTuber. But, you have to have a lot of backgrounds and other things in case you're not a good YouTuber, because not everybody is. And I'm not saying I'm great. I just try to give people information that's helpful. But we had a couple videos started to take off, and he was super excited. And so, of course, and I was like, wow, there really is a thing to this. It took me about less than 6 months to get monetized, and then I started figuring out, of course, you could do affiliate sales, and it's no different than selling boats and jet skis and such. You're just doing it more online. The same thing with all the solar stuff that we do here. So, we have the solar business. That's my father-in-law's thing, and I've just always helped assist with sales and information. And then this is really my own thing, but now I'm kind of weaving them together a little bit to drive. And someday maybe they'll incorporate a little bit in some fashion, but that's kind of how it kind of came together. A couple videos really took off, and then it was a challenge to try to make another one and see if it would do better and better. And then all of a sudden you get 100 subscribers, then 1,000, then 5,000. You're like, wow, I'm a YouTuber in my 40s. It's just so.
Let's go. representing the 40s
I
and
mean,
plus.
your style of content's like exactly what people want right now, right? It's like it's not super nice edited or polished. It's just a guy sharing his thoughts. Here it is. I was skimming through YouTube and I see comments like, "Thanks for just telling us straight up and cutting the BS." You know, I feel that's what people want right now. And I'm sure we'll get into this in a bit, but I'm really trying to go to the traditional sales guys in solar, whether it's commercial, residential, DIY, whatever, and say, hey, look at the people that are sort of in our industry. Look what videos are going viral. It's not some crazy polished thing. It's just a guy, and this is what I do. Here's my experience, and that's getting the virality of it. I guess the question is, does that end up being monetizable enough to keep doing that, form of content?
Well, they say with every video, you want to try to make it, even if it's 0.5 or 1% better than your last video, then you're making each video slightly better and you're progressing like you should. And I've tried the fancy editing, I've tried the music, and you have to see what your channel analytics are like and see what your audience likes. It takes a long time to figure that stuff out and to learn it. And polished videos are great and they do help, especially if you can keep the information and the content moving. I do have a couple videos that one's about 1 million views, another one is like 2.3 or 2.4 million views. And those were the ones where I just gave straight facts, no fluff. And that's what people want. I mean, when I go look for a video, there's two different ways you look at a video, right? You want your educational stuff where you want the facts now and this and that, and then there's kind of like the mindless watching of either reels or shorts, or you're just kind of scrolling along and you don't really retain the information much. But when you're on a mission of DIY or you're wanting to purchase something, you want the facts, you want it now, and you don't want a 30-minute video. Because most people can't handle more than about 15 to 20 minutes. After that, they're tapped out. So you have to keep your video short enough to keep people engaged, give them as much information as you can, as quick as you can, and hopefully you didn't miss anything, because sometimes you do. Everybody's human, they make mistakes. So I find that, yeah, keeping the information flowing. And really, if you look at some people's content who is super viral, there's hardly any editing. It's all about the content and if the information is good.
You talked about monetizing, but over that time, it's not just you make it and it's like a certain time. What does it look like? Is it first you have to like love it and do it because you don't care about the money, and then years later eventually you monetize it? Is there a certain number, like 5,000 people now monetizing, or is it that 2 million view video now I can monetize? What's the time you're like, now I can monetize this baby?
Well, that's the thing, is that monetization comes differently for everybody, because even if your channel isn't monetized, you can still make money from affiliate links, other platforms like the question platform that I have, which is called Ask Me, right? You can go in there and get a hold of me directly, and it's a small fee, but it's allowing you to get a hold of me, and basically you're paying for my time to answer a direct question, because like all of us, we have a lot to do. We all have family and such. So those are other ways to monetize by utilizing Amazon links, the Ask Me link, and more. And so some people can monetize their YouTube channel in maybe a month. That's like super fast. Other people, it might take 2 or 3 years. I have a second channel which is just for e-bikes and e-scooters and such.
Oh, I
I
didn't know that.
haven't put a lot of effort into it, but I've only got about 500 subscribers, and it's taking almost twice as long as the main channel. But again, I'm not putting much effort into it. That one's more for fun. So you are going to see a lot of people, their monetization times are going to come at different levels. And as soon as you stop chasing the money, you'll find that it will come faster.
Hmm.
Just give people info that is helpful, and from there people will like you more. I've tried the back and forth. I've tried talking super fast to try to get as much information as I can in a short video, and then I've talked too slow. So it takes those few months to find your rhythm and what people want. And don't worry about the haters. There's always going to be somebody who's going to be smarter than you and know more than you, but there's a lot of people who are going to know a lot less. So That's your audience. Don't worry about the scientist who nobody likes to watch because he takes a 2-minute topic and makes it an hour. So it's just, but yeah, so monetization comes at different rates for everybody.
I really want to jump into like your audience and how they perceive that content, but first, I think that beyond a shadow of a doubt, not only the future but the present right now is if someone wants to jump into any industry, and you're an amazing example, and there's a few good examples of people in blue collar industries, right? Stuff that you generally wouldn't think of selling things online. But the way the world is going, it doesn't work anymore to just do one ad, boom, get the deal. It works to some extent, but the much more effective thing is I'm going to devote 6 to 12 months, build an audience, free value. And as I'm sure you've seen, people start contacting you and saying, hey, I've been watching your stuff for bloody 6, 7 months. You're giving so much awesome info. What else do you have for me? Not only is the sale the easiest, but you've already showed the customer you have value, you know, and so it's such an easier symbiotic process. I feel a lot of sales guys don't want to put that work in though. And you know, I'm sure you can speak on it. Your asset, that audience that you have that already trusts you, you can do so much with it as long as you keep doing good by them, right? And it's so different from the blue collar sales where just in and out, in and out, in and out. They don't have that long term vision.
True. Well, and I also think because the people who do follow me pretty consistently, which I don't see other channels do, I use a lot of the products that I review. You will see 6-month reviews, you will see 1-year reviews,
Right.
and then I can tell you, hey, this is what are the great points about it. This is the stuff I don't like about it. And so then they know that this guy's not doing a one and done video. Hey, here's a free sample I got from this company. Here's my review, and I really, really love it because they paid me and gave me this thing. I don't care about that stuff, even though some people think I do. I try to give you the facts of what it does, what it doesn't do, and if it's going to be something that's going to be good for you. And so, especially in my RV stuff, because I do the RV solar a lot versus a home stuff, because and I'm kind of focusing back towards the home stuff again because my audience wants to see some of that. But not a lot of people are doing the RV solar stuff, at least with some of the new things that are coming out, because that industry is changing a lot, especially the power kits and more for off grid, for RV. And it's becoming so much simpler. It's becoming plug and play that now the person who doesn't really know how to do a lot of wiring, well, they can do plugs and quick connects and maybe 2 or 3 big cables, and that's it. So that industry is moving really fast. So there's a lot of good content there. And when I do reviews on solar panels and stuff, there's a lot of people who want to know about all these new panels or modules, if you want to call them that are coming out in that RV or recreational industry that not a lot of other people are testing or actually using. They test them, and then here's your video and you're done, but no 3-month, no 6-month update. So I think a lot of people find value in that, is that I actually use those products. I'll beat them up. I will destroy them if I have to, because they gave them to me. What do I care if they die and fail? I'll tell them, hey, it didn't last. Don't buy it. That's I don't want my audience to basically buy products that were only for show that one time. I want them to stick around for a little bit and let them see that I'm actually using it. And hey, this is all the good points, and again, these are the bad points. And I think they find a lot more value in that versus the one and done video, and you never see a channel even use that product again. And there's a lot of channels that are popping up everywhere because the solar game is whatever, and they never even did this stuff before. And so it's interesting.
Yeah.
You said you're moving back to sort of home stuff. Obviously, a lot, everyone on the business side of things, there's a ton of people in residential and commercial. There is one thing that, this has been happening for a few years in the US. I have many years of experience in solar in Australia. We went through this as well, which is a negative perception about solar in general, whether it's solar on the RV, commercial, whatever. And that could be politically charged. It could be sketchy salespeople they experienced in the past. Are you starting to get that as well? Or have you got that in the past? Oh, solar is a scam, doesn't work, regardless of how much value you're adding in your content?
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is that there were some salesmen, obviously, that kind of ruined it for everybody. So then you have to build the trust back up. And a lot of people want a return on solar, for some reason they don't understand it's like an investment, like the stock market. The longer you're in, the better the payback. If you're wanting a return in 1 year, 2 years, it isn't feasible and it'll never happen. So most of the time when you do a solar array for a company, you can show them the payback and then when they'll be positive. And so I think a lot of people, they got pushed into solar when they didn't need it. The lease thing really ruined it for a lot of people because that was popular a few years ago. And so those kind of gave the solar industry kind of a bad name that, oh, they're just trying to sell you this and that, and it's never going to pan out. Here at Halcyon Solar, I mean, we will show them the numbers and say, hey, your payback is 4.5 years or 7.5 years, depending on the size of the system. I happen to live in the second sunniest city in the nation, so our paybacks here are a little quicker because we get more sun. There's more solar hours, so you can benefit from that, obviously, versus if you live somewhere that doesn't get as much solar days as we do, then your payback could be a year or two longer. So those are things that they have to look at. And also, what does their utility rates look like? Are they on those top tiers? Do they have a set fee? There's a lot more to it than just, oh, I want solar. And now there's this shift of moving from on grid or grid tie solar to now more of the off grid solar and storing all that power you use and going into, the battery backup systems and battery bank storage and all that stuff, which I mean, off grid is now starting to look like a better way because you get your battery backup and you can start load shedding and getting away from the top tiers. So it is a change. But of course, there's always a change in solar. I mean, every couple of years, I mean, the PG&E thing here in California, and now the tariffs again that are coming. So it's a wave.
If you
And
guys
so,
are,
do you find because you've built so much trust with your audience, you're able to overcome those misconceptions more so than the average sales rep who doesn't have an audience, hasn't added value, and customers just tell them, "Oh, solar's a scam." Your audience is giving you a chance. You've already added value to them, so well, if he says that there's something to it, maybe I'll listen a bit more.
Well, and I think that is helpful when you follow somebody who is using this stuff, who's been around this stuff. And I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to give you information. What you do with the information is up to you. If you want to buy solar, then and it's beneficial for you, then go get it. If it isn't, then don't, because there's several people in my city, their bill is so low it doesn't make any sense for them to get solar. And I've even told them, I was like, I wouldn't, especially if you're moving, there's no reason to buy solar on your house if you're going to be gone in 3 to 5 years. Save your money, put it in investments or whatever else. But if you plan to stay in that home, there's a lot of different scenarios on whether solar is right for you. And if you use it and you can show numbers on how much you save or scenarios, that helps you give better information to your customer versus if I'm just a salesman. In order for me to eat and live, I have to make sales. So I have to push and maybe kind of, fudge the numbers a little bit for me to eat, make my paycheck and stuff. So there's a big difference between being a salesman versus somebody who's just giving you information. And from there, you can then know what to do with it, whether it's going to be a good option for you. So
if you guys are just tuning in here, we got Jonny Dahlberg. He has a YouTube channel called Johnny's Weekends, has over 40,000 subs, has videos with over 2 million views. Really consistent, bringing out that DIY solar YouTube. A lot of homeowners who just want to do it themselves. But you talked about, Jonny, what the homeowners want or what the audience wants. What do you like to talk about? I see you talk about generators a lot and batteries and solar panels, and you talking about your RV stuff, which I think is really cool too. What do you like to talk about?
I've always been a motor guy. I used to race jet skis kind of on a semi-professional level for a little bit, and I was racing dirt bikes. So that's where the small mechanic stuff came in, obviously, with the being in the marine industry or recreational thing. So I do like to talk about motors and stuff like that, which does translate into this. People who are just getting into solar, within these last 3 or 4 years, I mean, my family's been involved with it since 2002. So people, oh, solar is so great. It's like, yeah, it's been around a long time. It's just but there are cool things that are now changing. So, people were like, oh, you should talk about more solar panels and review more solar modules of the larger residential commercial ones. It's like, well, oh, look, a 335 watt. Oh, this one's 345. Not a lot of difference. Hence, the recreational industry, there's all kinds of stuff popping up that is totally different. And is it junk or not? Some of it's really good and some of it's really bad. So, and there's a lot of products that don't even make it on the channel. I talk to companies and I'm like, it isn't going to work. It's not high quality at all, and you're asking prices too much. So, and things I do talk about with other creators. I have a chat group with other creators as well, and we talk about the solar industry, certain products that are coming out. So that's kind of what I chat about a lot now. The racing thing for me is now kind of a retired thing, but I still like to do some bench racing and talk some smack, to some old friends and whatnot when I can. So that's always fun. Um, just I'm not a real big sports guy anymore. I still watch Supercross when I can, but the football and all the baseball stuff now is really kind of on the back burner. I don't think I've watched much in the last probably 15 years. It's mainly like playoffs, Super Bowl, something like that. That's usually the catching up I'll do just to see what's going on. But yeah, right now it's mainly a lot of the life kids and talking about solar and what's changing in YouTube as well is kind of where my conversations lie when I'm not on camera. But
Do you find a lot of your audience, because obviously you're a super smart guy, seeing some of your videos, you get sometimes very technical, sometimes not. Do you find your audience is that engineer type, that technical type, or are you also finding people that are just now learning about solar and just want some basic info? And like, what's the distinction between those two audiences and the engagement between those?
well, again, there's always going to be somebody out there who's going to know more than you, right? And obviously, that's not my audience. I'm usually going for more of the beginner slash intermediate, who is just starting out, wanting to get into their solar journey, and then the guys who are into it but are looking for suggestions or a little bit farther along as far as that solar journey and what they have already. That way, you can compare ideas. Just like anything else, you can say, "Hey, well, I've tried this. Have you done this?" And oh no, but they've done this and I haven't. And then I'm like, oh yeah, maybe I should try that because like anything, whether you're in the medical field or you work at a certain company and you're an electrician or whatever, there's always more to learn. And that's the thing is you keep on learning because things change constantly. You're never going to know everything. So you have to keep driving to educate your skills on whatever topic it is and and find the limits of products and more and find out what works and doesn't work. So I think for the audience, they like the fact that I can give them, technical data when they want it, or sometimes also very basic info. I just did a very basic video, which so far is not doing that great, but my videos usually take off after about the first month and then they really go after that. I'm not
That's good to
really
know.
too worried about videos exploding. You just want to get the information out there, post evergreen stuff that is always going to be out there. One of the best videos is how to change a tire, right? It's always going to be watched. So if you put basic videos out there for everybody to see that's always going to be there, you're going to help tons and tons of people.
You glossed over one thing really quick, and I wrote it in my notes here, and I think it's huge. You do a chat group with other creators. I fucking love that. I mean, that's the way you can get a level up, stay consistent, and have great content. Is that kind of one of your secret strategies, or what else is there to stay consistent?
Well, one
And are
I
they in
also
the same space? The
Yeah,
same
good question.
DIY
yeah,
space?
they kind of are actually. Some of us do. I do more the RV thing where the other guys don't. But I mean, some of the creators I talk to, one of them's all the way on the East Coast, the other one's in Utah, one of them's in Southern California, the other one is in Vegas, and our channels go in all different, kind of as far as our subscriber group. Some of us cross over and watch each other, and some of us don't, or at least the audience doesn't. So some people have 1 million subscribers on their channels, and then some of us have 30,000 up to where I am at 40, And then a couple of my friends, they're like 50 and 60. And we actually went to CES together, a whole big group of us. And that's actually where we met for the first time. We started chatting online, then we finally got to meet. And it's really
Cool.
cool because now we're building a network and we're also discussing with companies to make better products and to not try to sell you the junk. And when we do get a new product, because sometimes they send it out to several creators and we can talk about it offline and say, hey, this is really cool. This are all good points, but then you're like, hey, this is actually kind of a fail on their aspect, and they should really fix this before we even go live with the video. And sometimes it's a firmware update that they'll scramble and make because they have a launch date they're trying to hit. So there's a lot of cool things that you can do to help yourself grow, be more knowledgeable. So if there's any other creators out there, get a chat group going with other creators that you might know. It'll only help you because you are then becoming your own team. It's networking, and you will just grow that much faster. And don't, and this is another thing I found out early on while going to the Vid Summit. Vid Summit is basically a YouTube creator gathering. It's where all the YouTube creators go. It's not really for fans, it's for creators. And you learn so much just talking to anybody and everybody there. And I've made good friends there because you're nerding out on YouTube. So it gets real crazy on, just all the data and all the analytics. But once you stop chasing the money, stop chasing subscribers. I haven't asked anybody to subscribe in a long time because I want them to be there because they want to be there. And if they're not going to hang around for the long run, that's okay too. If they just need the information short, great. I hope it helped you, and maybe I'll see you in another video somewhere down the line. So my subscriber group may not be as high as others who have a lot of subscribers, but I've noticed if you look at my overall views, they're actually quite a bit higher than several channels.
This type of business building for me is just so exciting, based off of content creators that are speaking to the end customer, that are adding value for free, don't think about the money for such a long time, and then eventually a really cool business comes from it. I feel we've seen a few. Obviously the big YouTube example is Mr. Beast, right? It's got massive brands now, but it's cool to see the blue collar industries get into this, because these industries that there's not a ton of information on. You can binge watch your content, binge watch someone's content, build rapport with you, get information, and then, oh, what do you know? He also has something that's going to help me, but I already trust this business. And they don't even perceive it as a business. It's a personal brand. Whereas if your thing was just a business name, right? And you never got on the camera and it was just business, I think the audience online is moving away from that. They want to see personal experiences, personal takes on certain things. And it excites me a lot. We speak to a lot of sales guys that are popular on YouTube or wherever, but they're not making content for the end customer. They're making content for other sales guys or whatever. And that's cool. They have reasons for that. But I'm always challenging people. I'm like, hey, man, you really want to make an impact on the industry. Start making really cool content for your end customer. Right?
Definitely.
I think there's going to be some amazing blue collar businesses built off of that model over the next few years.
I mean, I've already seen it. It goes in every line of business, really. They're able to continue their main business. They can also turn this into the side hustle. And some people don't like being on camera or editing and all the things that come with it, because sometimes it can be as easy as point and shoot. But if you really want to grow, like any business, you have to put in effort and continue to up your game a little bit, just like with anything. So yeah, it's cool to see the blue collar kind of get into this as well, because I mean, there's growth and there's an audience out there for everybody. So it's kind of like the podcast thing has really been taking off, and this is cool to do podcasting now because we can share so much more just through letting people kind of listen to you as they're driving or whatever else, and plus they can go back and watch it if they want to actually watch the podcast. So it's totally cool how we see this kind of, this evolution of just, the social media thing going from the shorts to the video to the long form to the podcast. And again, there's also ways to now start connecting with those creators through, certain aspects of, whether it's a Patreon group or the Ask Me question thing, so you can get a hold of people directly. There's been so many times where I've tried to get a hold of creators to ask them certain questions a few years ago. that wasn't even possible a few years ago. You would never be able to talk to anybody in person or even see them. And now it's starting to become a little bit more a personal connection, which when you start that personal connection, it snowballs and it just starts leading to more and more, which generates a bigger audience, a more trusting audience, which in turn, then you'll make your sales because people trust you. And so, I still have to make a living as well. So I don't really try to force sales. I just say, hey, this looks like it'll work for you and it's on sale. If you want to try to take advantage, go for it. If not, look over here. It might be cheaper. So I'll give them options, even if it doesn't even relate to a sale for me to where I make money. I'll tell them, hey, go over here and buy it. It's cheaper. You're going to save money. I don't make any money, but you know what? You're going to save money in your own pocket. And so that's usually what I look for too when I watch other creators.
One big DIY content group that I think I've seen a bit that you've done, but I see a real gap in, and I'm working on a project right now that we want to get going, is DIY content for energy efficiency and upgrading homes, electrical stuff. I think that's massive because there's so many little things, whether they're free or cost money, that people can do to their outdated homes, which will help with their energy bills that are constantly going up. Have you started to play into that? Have you started thinking about that?
Oh yeah, I've already kind of done that because there are things I need to do myself, but I don't even know if you can see it on my screen here, but there's a mini split back there, right? And I have that same mini split. Not sure if I can tweak it, but it's over there. These new mini splits, they run directly off of solar. It's not grid tied. You can literally take 5 solar panels, throw them on the ground, and it'll just start running as soon as the sun comes up and it hits the voltage. I just did a video on this and explained your return on investment. How much it costs to, buy that mini split, how much it costs to buy the solar panels roughly, and then how long it takes to pay itself off. And then after that, you now start having free heating and cooling from that mini split by just having the solar panels on the ground. There was no permit. There was no, grid tie. So there's no interconnect fees. There's, so that's something that actually is super efficient that can start saving you money. I explained in the video, is it going to pay itself back in 6 months? No. You have to wait about 2 years is about when that will pay itself off, depending on what your energy bills are. But then after that, it's free. A lot of people are like, well, I want to put in a pool. And it's like, that's just going to cost you money, a lot of money. The same thing with a kitchen. You're going to put in $60,000 into a kitchen that's maybe going to give you a little bit of money back, but it's not going to put money in your pocket. That actually will back there. And it's super efficient. And now they have them in 120 volt. They have them in 240 volt or 220, however you want to say it. And it just, things like that are what can put money back in your pocket in the long run. And if the power's out and the sun is shining, or you can run it on a generator, you have heating and cooling in an emergency. It's one of the best items that people really need to start looking into is these hybrid mini splits. And I even have a discount code if anybody needs it, because it's just those things I've been selling like hotcakes now because people finally are catching on that these are really cool. So
I love
the energy efficiency arena is a blue ocean for both people involved in the industry, but also homeowners just figuring out, there's some little things I can do. They're going to stop my bill from absolutely skyrocketing over the next few years.
Oh, yeah. I mean, especially when we see, this might be another 10 years, but solar panel windows, that can, at least drive a little bit of energy. I mean, that stuff they've been testing for a few years, and maybe we'll see it someday on residential. I mean, it's more likely going to be on the, industry side of buildings and such. That's probably where you'll see it take off first. And then if you get these high efficiency solar windows that can actually harness even the light just from ambient lighting and not direct, then that right there can also just increment your bill down a little bit. So it's cool to see all the new stuff, the new solar cells that are coming out. They're super efficient, but they're super fragile. So once they figure out that, then perovskite cells, I think is what they're called. It's kind of
perovskite.
Perovskite. Yeah, I always get that name a little bit wrong, but once they figure those out, and they're not so delicate, I mean, that could really change the industry. or if they continue to try to use other compounds that they've made, like graphene, that it's a crazy conductor, but it's just not quite established enough yet to make something that's going to be sustainable. Everything fails at the moment, but that's what they're doing. They're testing, and I love that. That's what I like about the industry, is that even the stuff that I get, you play with it, you test it, you see how it works, you see if it lasts. And so there is so much more things we can do for energy efficiency. And it's just, we're really going to see a change in the next 5 to 10 years. It's going to be cool.
Johnny's Weekends, dropping tips. And I really appreciate it. You don't mind a few more questions? Pick your mind a little bit more before you go.
Yeah. I got some time.
Okay, so I'm a little bit. I don't understand how the affiliate marketing, Amazon store. I know you have a link for Amazon store, and you're talking about selling products, and like, can you talk in like layman's terms for the audience? Maybe kind of let them know, how does this actually work with Amazon? Because it seems like a lot of people are doing it, and it should be a way people are looking into it more. But can you kind of give us like a bird's eye view how it looks?
Yeah, so basically, an Amazon affiliate link is just taking, like, let's say you find this cool lamp. You would copy this link and basically put it into your feed or at the bottom of your video. But in order to be an Amazon affiliate, you do have to go into their Amazon affiliate program. You would then see if you qualify, which you have to meet some standards. They'll ask you for your social media pages and such to see what your following looks like and whatever. And then if you qualify, then you can then start copying those links and posting them onto your social feeds, even Amazon, even like Facebook feeds and whatever. But you need to make sure you play by the rules, because some people do get, kind of booted out of the program for not letting people know those are affiliate links and that you make a small commission. Now, if you buy something off of that link, it doesn't cost you any more. I just make a few pennies off of it. So if you buy something for $100, I make, 10 cents or whatever it is on that particular, because the commission rate changes drastically depending on if you're buying a book or if you're buying a couch or if you're buying an automotive part. It could be 1% or 4%, you don't know. So, but those are just one way to make money through, your marketing is through Amazon. You can do it through Target, Home Depot, Walmart as well. They all have affiliate programs. Same thing with like Harbor Freight and more, in order for you to generate revenue. So, and that's the thing, is that if you are going to go into this industry, which I learned a long time ago, is that in order to make money, it's not just everything on YouTube. You're looking at multiple revenue streams to collect into your pot. Um, that way, if you want to turn this into a true business, then you can at least, make enough to where maybe this might turn into something that's full time. So, uh, never watch YouTube too much. I mean, even though it's hard not to, it's addictive to see where your views are going, because more views, more watch time hours equal more money. And it's not as much as you think. People think everybody is making thousands and thousands, and there are some people who are killing it, but the majority are making, like pennies on the dollar. So the people who want to do this, you have to make sure you're in it for something other than the money, because you will be making $2 a day for a long time before you really start taking off. So if the young people are listening, before you want to be a YouTuber or content creator, make sure you have another viable way to make money, because your channel could get canceled, it could get corrupted, or just turned off at any time. So always have another way, plan B, plan C, plan D, to be able to make money. And for me, I've set myself up now to where I can work at the hospital every day, all day, and make as much money as I need to. I can go back into the marine industry if I need to, or if worse came to worse, I could go back to work for my father-in-law, full time if I need to. So, not that it's bad. We have a great relationship now. It's cool. But, when I was dating his daughter, it was a little different, because I was that guy. Hey, get away from my daughter. So he would send me far away to these solar jobs in Southern California, out in the desert in Blythe, where we were putting on solar installations on these fairgrounds all over the place. So I wasn't home much. So it was a good time. But yeah, so But yeah, affiliate marketing is great. There's a lot of ways to make money on it. Again, you just have to make sure you let your audience know it's an affiliate link, so you don't get in trouble with the guys who are allowing you to do that.
All right, so that's the Amazon way, affiliate, but there's the traditional way, right, of selling solar. You haven't really talked about that because you have a huge audience and you have millions of views. So I'm sure you're getting regular homeowners who want just regular financing. Give me no work, no hassle, get it done for me. I still want to see my bills drop, and then I'll see you later. What are you doing with those? Are you just like saying, hey, go DIY, it's way better? Or are you just helping them figure out a place to go and you send them somewhere else, get a referral or something?
Well, yeah, like anybody, if you're gonna do it DIY, you need to know basically what are you capable of doing, because not everybody's craftsmanship is as good as others. So
That's for
can you
sure.
put these on the roof? Are
Yes.
you going to do a ground mount? Do you know how to do all the wiring and such? Or is it worth it for you to pay somebody to do this? If you are going to have somebody else do it, you should always get three quotes at least. That way, everybody's kind of in that same ballpark. Is it 25,000, or is this guy charging you 38,000 for no reason for this small array you're trying to put up? Um, if you are going to DIY it, get as much info as you can. That way, you know if it's something you are actually capable of. And for me, if I get questions about that, if they live somewhere close, well, then, obviously they can come to our solar business, or we can call them and get them a quote and say, hey, this is approximately how much it would be for you for your residential place, and what it looks like and such. Or if they want, they can buy DIY kits from several different vendors that are online, which I'll send them there and say, hey, take a look at these guys, and you can buy a full kit. They will sell you the solar panels, the batteries. They will sell you, all the stuff you need to basically, just plug it in and turn it on. I mean, you have to hardwire it and do all the stuff. And, obviously pull your permits or whatever it is you have to do for your municipalities. But there's, yeah, a lot of different ways to go about this now that we didn't have just 5 or 6 years ago. So now there are so many more ways. If you want to DIY it, the resources are there. So then you just have to find maybe a local guy to do the hard wiring if you don't want to do that part, because a lot of people don't like to get into their own panel and such. So if they're going to do a grid tie, then that's something they got to look into as well, because sometimes the
And
grid tie
permitting as
stuff,
well,
huh?
right? With permitting as well, when
Yeah.
with large scale DIY projects, is probably a
Yeah.
pain in the ass for an individual to do.
Yeah, because sometimes permitting can take, a month or two, or if you're doing your interconnect, that might take a while as well. So, and yeah, all those things with grid tie right now is definitely frustrating. Versus, if you're doing DIY off grid, and then you just start load shedding. I mean, you kind of do it all at your own pace, and then when you're ready, you just flip the switch, and now all of a sudden half of your home is running on your solar and your batteries, and all you did was maybe plug it into a transfer switch and kept it real simple with your critical loads that you want. I mean, that's how I've done it. I show people this all the time. It's like, you don't have to do the whole thing. You can literally just put on like your main 8 circuits that you want, like your refrigerator, lights, Wi-Fi, washer, dryer, and then you can start load shedding and bringing your bills way down, and then your expense is way less. So a lot of different ways to do it now versus the traditional full solar array on your house. That's grid tied, but now you can do these small off grid systems to start getting away from those top tiers that were making your bill $800 a month. You can get back to, $200 a month.
Some solar is better than no solar, right, Johnny?
That's what they say. Some watts are better than no watts.
So YouTube is where it's at. Obviously, Johnny's Weekends on YouTube. You can find him on there as Johnny's Weekends. Is there other platforms you're utilizing, Johnny? I know there's Instagram is huge. TikTok is obviously huge. LinkedIn, I'm sure you have a huge. You probably have a huge audience on LinkedIn too. I would think, but maybe not. I'm not
It's
sure. What do
funny.
you think?
I don't push the other social media things too much, because from what I've learned is that I did try TikTok for a little bit. I have a small audience there. I did have Snapchat for a little bit, deleted that. I do have LinkedIn, and I have some connections there. I do have Instagram as well, along with a Facebook page, which I don't put as much effort into those because maybe I just need a social media manager now to help with that. But when I was learning more about YouTube and analytics and this and that, it's like, well, are you devoting 90% of your time to YouTube, or are you devoting 60% and then you're divvying up the rest of your time to
Mm.
all the other social media platforms? So um, I decided to put 95% of my time into YouTube because of just things that I've learned. That's where I've started. There's other people who kill it on Instagram, they kill it on TikTok and more, and even Facebook, as far as, their audience and what they can receive as far as, revenue from that and sales. But for me, YouTube has been my platform. That's where I'll stay. And I know my videos are pretty evergreen there versus sometimes in TikTok and those other worlds, your videos are gone in 6 months versus mine are still around 3 years later. So I live on YouTube, and that's where you'll find me most. You can find me on the other platforms as well, but I'm just not quite as active.
Have you checked out Solar Goat on TikTok? Have you seen Solar Goat?
I don't know if I've seen. You know what? Maybe I did because I may have just seen that guy.
If you want motivation, check him out, man. He's really cool. We've had him on the pod. I
Cool.
always talk good about him. He's got 100K on TikTok. He repair. That's what he does all day long. He just makes really cool videos of him going out and repairing residential installs. His views are amazing. He's the most humble, honest guy, super straightforward, very similar to you, just gives the stuff. He's an amazing audience. But yeah, if you want some TikTok inspiration, check him out. Very cool, just basic edited videos, nothing crazy. Just this is what's going on. This is what I did to this one. This is the problem. People love it. It's really cool.
Yeah, and it's funny. I thought about doing some of that stuff on YouTube to help people with their, because if you move in and you have a solar array that's on your house already, and maybe it's not functioning properly, you might need to go find out, what's causing the problem and why is it only half is working, or maybe the whole thing isn't, and how come you're not getting power from solar? Did some rats chew on some wires? Who knows? Just whatever. So, but yeah, I thought that would be kind of a cool, kind of topics and stuff to cover. So Solar Goat, check them out. Why not?
Solar Goat.
Yeah. Yep. Solar
cool.
Goat.
Got some good content.
Nice.
Everybody should check out Solar Goat, but they all should be checking out Jonny's weekends. And the way I was able to contact Jonny was going to his YouTube and go to his links, and his little link called Ask Me. I clicked on that link. I gave him I don't know what it was, for like coffee or something. And he jumped on there.
That's all it was a coffee.
Yeah, just a coffee, and all of a sudden I'm talking to Jonny. So he's really easy to contact and get to know, maybe collaborate with. Jonny, so if somebody's out there that listening, like, I want to get to know this guy better, I want to work with him, I want to connect with them, what's the best way to do that? Ask Me on YouTube?
Well, the Ask Me link is definitely the best way if you want to get a hold of me for, general questions. If you want to collab as well, I do have my business email on there as well, which is going to be the johnnysweekends@gmail.com. Those are usually more for the business inquiries. So those are where the companies can get a hold of me. And if they want to have something tested or reviewed or maybe featured on the channel, if it's something that works out and actually is, part of my content, then they can get a hold of me there at johnnysweekends@gmail.com. Or you can check out the Ask Me link that is on, my YouTube page as well. And you can get a hold of me, it's really just ask me /@johnnysweekends.com as well. And so there is a small fee, but it's less than a cup of coffee. And it's funny because I had one guy who actually said, "Oh, you're charging money for questions?" I was like, "You're going to blow $8 on your frappe, latte, whatever, and gain no knowledge. But here I am, helping you with something that could cost you thousands. So I think it's worth, the small little fee that it charges." So, and plus you're paying for my time at 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. It doesn't, or whatever time it is that I answer the question. So it's usually a 24-hour thing. It gives me a little alert, and I try to get to you within 4 hours or less.
Well, I can tell you it's well worth it. You're worth way more. Also, I want to make sure you announce you got a podcast coming out too. I know you're setting up for it. When you talk a little bit about that real quick.
Yeah, I mean, the podcast thing is something that's on the back end. I'd like to start doing it more, but I'm moving into a new studio and everything else that's going on with family, it's a little bit on the back burner. But I would like to start getting a podcast up and going, and having guys like you on here and talking more about what's going on in the solar industry and in some of the how it ties into the recreational industry as well. So it's on the game plan to do it. It's just more on that back end because I got to finish my studio so I can start testing more products. I have a whole thing back here I got to finish on the back wall, which is I have a meter to put up and a few other things. And so it's going to be coming. It's just a little bit pushed off farther than I would like. But you got to take care of all the family stuff first, then your business, and then these extra little things come along a little bit later.
Well, in the meantime, I appreciate you being on this podcast. You seem like a really cool guy, and appreciate you being on here and getting to the audience, learning more about you. Josh, anything else, bro?
Thanks, mate. Thanks for coming on. Keep pumping out the content. Let me see
yeah,
more.
thank you guys. Definitely.
Johnny's
Definitely
weekends. Check
appreciate
them out, baby.
hanging out with you guys.
You too, man. It's been awesome.
Thanks,
Let's
Johnny.
Go. Peace.
All right,
Have a good
Joe,
one.
Josh, good talking, guys.
Take it easy.
Yep.
See you guys.